Hello everyone. My name is Puneet Gupta and I work as a senior software engineer in the Azure App Services Diagnostics team. Our team enables customers to self-diagnose their apps hosted on Azure App Service. In this video, we will learn about effectively measuring CPU consumption for apps hosted in Azure App Service and see how we can accurately identify apps that are consuming most of the CPU resources. In future videos, we will dig deeper into troubleshooting tools that allow you to debug a specific app, but the first step is identifying which app is consuming the maximum CPU resources. App Services provides Linux and Docker hosting scenarios as well, but we will be covering app services hosted only on the Windows stack. Also, we will be focusing on apps which are running in a dedicated SKU. Thirdly, the approach shown in this video can be applied to apps built using any framework or technology, be it ASP.NET, ASP.NET Core, Node, PHP, Java, Python, etc. So we start by going to Diagnose and Solve Problems Blade for my app. Here you can see different categories and checks that you can run to ensure your app runs healthy and is following the best practices and recommendations. As we are interested in identifying CPU consumption, let's go to the Availability and Performance section. Under this section, we run a quick health check on your app and we highlight key aspects of the app that you should care about. The time duration defaults to the last 24 hours, but you can modify it if needed. We can see the app's failed request rate, app performance shown as 90th percentile of request execution time, maximum CPU percentage across all instances, and the maximum private bytes of memory consumption by the app. We can clearly see in this case that the CPU usage is high. This number indicates the maximum CPU usage of the app service plan hosting your app. An app service plan may have multiple apps, so let's try to identify why the CPU usage is 100%. We can do this by clicking the high CPU analysis on the left or by clicking the CPU usage tile on the health check page. High CPU analysis helps in troubleshooting issues related to CPU. The very first thing it checks is the app service plan density. This check ensures that you have not overstuffed the app service plan by putting too many sites on it, and it calls out if you are within the safe limits or not. In this case, we are fine as we are only running 3 active apps in the app service plan, which is within the safe limits for this SKU. Next, it identifies the app which is consuming maximum CPU resources on the app service plan. In this case, it has identified that there is only one app which is consuming most of the resources. Notice that the app that is consuming the highest CPU is different from the app that we are currently looking at. The tool also suggests the next steps to further debug the app. Going down further, we see overall CPU usage for all instances associated with the app service plan. In this case, we can see that the app is running on 2 instances and both are consuming high CPU. We can choose a point on the graph to see CPU usage for each instance at a given point in time. We also have a drill down view that shows you app level CPU consumption for apps running on the same app service plan. By default, the instance with the maximum CPU usage is selected and the graph shows individual CPU consumption of each app running on the instance. The CPU usage shown here is the CPU usage of the process belonging to the app and all the child processes spun up to serve the app. We can see from the graph CPU usage of each app at a given point in time. Next, we see a process level breakdown of each app. The app that is consuming the maximum CPU is pre-selected, and you can see the process name and process ID for all the processes that belong to this app. You can switch the drop-down view to see the process level breakdown of other apps running in the same app service plan. In this manner, we can determine the app or apps that are spiking the maximum CPU on every instance. This is the simple workflow to be followed based on what is identified by running the high CPU analysis tool. If a single app is consuming most of the CPU, then we should be debugging the app to identify why the CPU is high. You can temporarily mitigate the issue by restarting the app as well, because that might recover the high CPU situation for some time. If you are on a lower tier like B1 or S1, you can upgrade the tier to the next tier so that your instance gets more compute resources. If multiple apps are consuming high CPU, then it's better to scale up the app service plan to the next tier so that apps get more compute resources. It might be related to the load of requests you are getting. You can also move some apps to a dedicated app service plan to ensure that they don't end up impacting other important apps. So in our example, we saw that demo high CPU is consuming maximum CPU. Hence it makes sense for us to debug this app further to identify why it is causing high CPU. This is something that we will cover in the next video. With that, we have come to an end. Do let us know if you find this helpful and if you have any feedback or suggestions, and stay tuned for any upcoming videos on this topic. Thank you for watching.